Let's go back to the Luciferian archetype and its relationship with Venus, thus with the manifestation of our world. As a feminine goddess, Venus receives the male intent, anchored in the solar system, in the sun. We are speaking about the same thing as men and the women coming together and co-creating a specific combined DNA. When Lucifer is associated with Venus in the process of manifestation of the world manifested is twisted. Not only we are in 3D, but it is also tainted by the energy of separation. Separation from the deity, from the spirit world, from the origin. The only purpose of human existence is to be the reflection and the projection of the deity's process of thinking. In one word, thinking to create and manifest itself. Creation requires 3 elements. You're going to understand why I'm speaking about all that. Creation requires 3 elements. The intent is coming from the mind, the thinking process, the will to manifest of the creator. Then the intent is launched into a space, a womb, linked to time and then form. And the 3rd element is the binding element of both male and female elements, love. There is no escape to the fact that human beings live within the space occupied and created by a consciousness. Why do I mention this again? Because in the human world, the binding force is love. It is an emotion that feeds the heart. Venus weaves the geometry of form between light and darkness. Do you remember the 5-pointed star, the dance of Venus and the sun, male and female principle? The 5-pointed star and the dance of Venus is connected to the Fibonacci sequence that we find in the manifestation of form. So it is interesting that Lucifer, the diabolic archetype, has been merged in our consciousness with the functioning of Venus, ancient goddess of love and beauty, and ruler of the Libra, that is the balancing energy of the zodiac. What did we do? What happened to humankind? Well, the controversy about Lucifer is based on the interpretation, that's the main source that we find. It is based on the interpretation of the biblical text of Isaiah 14:12. That's the text. How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. So, in some translations of the Bible, morning star has been replaced by Lucifer. Then we have, you have fallen from heaven, Lucifer, you have been cast down to the earth. And here we go, we have a story. Now, a lot of things. The trend on the internet is simply to say, well, Lucifer as a being doesn't exist. It is just a mistake in translation. And by the way, we are aware that if the idea of evil is worldwide, the name Lucifer is not international. In fact, the name Lucifer, capitalized, is not found in the Bible. In the text of Isaiah, just mentioned, the term Lucifer, without a capital and capitalized, originated from a 4th century Latin translation of the Book of Isaiah by Saint Jerome in what is known as the Vulgate. It's a translation that was authorized by the Catholic Church. So the Book of Isaiah is mostly dated from the 8th century BC. The title, Morning Star, referring to Venus, is found several times in the Bible, in the Psalms 110, Job 38. So what happened? I found this very nice quote. Lucifer passed from the realm of astronomy to the realm of theology. How did we create an archetype? The early Christians, as well as all religious traditions, have always believed in a dual world in which good and bad gods fight each other. I still feel personally a difference between Lucifer and Satan, but this is another story. We have no time to do all that. With the archetype Lucifer, religion has pointed at the separation syndrome created by the ego in need of self-praise and affirmation. We are speaking about believing or behaving as separate from the universal consciousness, or from an ego attempting to impose its own creation instead of surrendering to cosmic and divine will. So my interpretation is not just pointing at the sin of pride, as often mentioned by Christian literature. Lucifer wanted to hold the battleground and impose his view and domination. So we understand human beings might be afflicted by self-denial, lack of trust. They need to prove themselves. They need to be in charge. Yet, no one can forget that ultimately, you only serve the grand purpose or divine plan. So if you know where and what your creator is, how do you serve? Or how do you separate yourself? What actions are you taking? That might be separation instead of commitment to and love. Love only exists on the basis of action. Otherwise, it's another romantic illusion. As the heart is the seat of the soul, the being or the Lucifer consciousness or the Luciferian archetype detached itself from the divine heart that is manifested from heaven, rooted in spiritual frequencies. For those who have worked with me, think about the two triangles. The triangle of matter pointed up, feeding the three lower chakras, the triangle of spirit pointed down, the spiritual energy feeding the heart. So we go back to Lucifer. When Lucifer detached itself and entered the field of Venus in 3D, Venus became demonic. And this manifested the whole culture and the horrors connected to the reverse 5-star. The reversed 5-pointed star. We note that in astrology, although Venus is associated with love, the heart is not Venus, it is the sun. On her orbit, Venus goes back and forth. She meets the sun and therefore the heart, then turns around and goes back towards self and towards the underworld. In Western theology, there has been all along a blurry space in the understanding of the opposites, yin, yang, God, demons, Lucifer, Satan, Michael, and the dragon. We cannot elaborate on that in one presentation. I know my presentations are already pretty long. In the Judeo-Christian world, the Book of Enoch is the usual reference in terms of the origin of demons, Nephilim, and bad angels. The details will be in my websites, okay? In the text of 1 Enoch, we hear about servants of Satan. We hear about demons, Nephilims, but no Lucifer. In the second book of Enoch, that elaborates the story of the fallen angels, give the names of the bad angels, but there is no mention of Lucifer whatsoever. The only one that is mentioned is either Samlazaz or Satanael. So the sound is Satan, Satanael, but no Lucifer. So what happened? Did the interpreters of the Old Testament start a trend, an archetype, a belief that would fit mankind's need a few centuries ago? Something that we don't need anymore. One interpretation is that the prophet Isaiah was speaking about the king of Babylon, calling him the morning star. Well, interestingly, there is a problem in terms of dates. Okay, when Isaiah is supposed to have written this text, Babylon has not yet destroyed the temple. When Isaiah wrote this text, supposedly in the 8th century, then the king was the king of Assyria. So there is a debate that is still going on among scholars. So what is left in all that is that Babylon became the archetype of everything that is bad, the archetype of the oppressor that we find in the Bible and until the end in the Revelation. There was no mighty Babylonian empire when Isaiah wrote this verse, supposedly in the 8th century. So I wonder, how are our brains wired? By centuries of culture, repetition? How did we connect on that with Satanism, the Luciferian archetype, the five-pointed star? I have myself reacted when connected to Satanism and asking, where did it start? Well, I saw Babylon and the king of Babylon and the priests of Babylon. Something else that is very interesting. For the Akkadians, Babylon meant gate of the gods. In the Bible philosophy, Babel, the capital of Babylon, refers to confusion in relationship with the story of the Tower of Babel. So the symbol of Babylon started and was used until the apocalypse. This is showing how we need to transmute our beliefs, eventually our memories. We need to rewire our brain in order to be free and more neutral and follow cosmic evolution. We note still that in the charts, the astrological charts of many individuals for which Satanism played a significant role in their life. Surprisingly, the asteroid Lucifer has often a noteworthy placement. By the way, for those who are interested, check also the placement of Sirius, one of the masters of ceremony in the mysteries. This is food for thought. The story of Lucifer goes beyond the concept of the shadow. It anchored the human desire for self-affirmation, the will to explore independence, at the cost of breaking the universal rule of oneness and thus of love. Unfortunately, exile from the divine, exile for the presence of the anchor of the light, the Archangel Michael, as it's the Christian name of the principle of light, and the origin is at this point Archangel Michael. So the exile from the divine is impossible. It is against basic life, as humans' true nature and essence is divine. There is no possible completeness when trying to escape the whole, thus to escape love. While individuation is necessary for a soul to understand itself and its role in the concert of life, Lucifer was the archetype of pride, and self-glorification. He illustrated separation and the illusion that one can control universal laws instead of practicing loving surrender. Love, we repeat, being the factor of unification. We are almost done. I would like to add a note about Theosophy. In the Theosophical movement, Lucifer and the fall of the angels is connected to what I have called for years the great sacrifice. I'm going to read a quote from their books, a quote from the Arcane Theosophical School. because I'm not sure I agree with this statement. But it is important to mention the Arcane School and Theosophy because they have publicized Lucifer for decades. The secret, quote, the secret of the fallen angels is essentially the mystery which lies, it's always a mystery for the Arcane School, is the mystery which lies behind the very plan of evolution. For the solar angels' willingness to fall, to sacrifice themselves in order to bring the light of the principle of mind to what was then animal man. This act of sacrifice at the dawn of human history is a thread woven throughout the great scriptures and mythologies of the world, including the myth of Prometheus. I pass the details, you will have that on my website. The name Lucifer comes from the Latin words lux and lucis, light, and fere, to bring. Thus, Lucifer literally means light bearer. It is linked with the planet Venus in Revelation or Apocalypse. When Christ says, I am the bright morning star. So is he Lucifer? Some people say yes. Christ can be Lucifer according to this verse. I repeat the sentence. Lucifer means light bearer. It is linked with the planet Venus in Revelation when Christ says, I am the bright morning star, which is Venus, heralding the coming into full light of the sun, S-U-N, or the Son, S-O-N, the Christ. Interestingly, the role of light bearer is linked with Mercury, Hermes, the divine messenger for the gods in Greek and Roman mythology. In Christianity, Mercury's function is served by Saint Michael, the angel guardian of Christ. Michael, the guardian angel of Christ, according to Saint Thomas and other theosophical writers. The esoteric interrelation of this guardian angel and Christ is further illuminated in the statement by the Tibetan teacher with whom Alice Bailey collaborated to write a series of books on the ageless wisdom that Mercury and the sun are one. My understanding of Mercury and the sun is, I wouldn't say they are one, but we need to give more details. This is too much for this presentation. However, I want to mention, because this is important to me, it is my understanding and experience that the great sacrifice refers to the creators, not to the angels, to the creators who must temporarily separate an aspect of themselves that is reversed in polarity. So all throughout my passage on this planet, when I have spoken about the great sacrifice, I only spoke about the sacrifice of the creators. So what's the difference with Lucifer? Well, the main difference, the essential difference with the Luciferian archetype is the preposterous need for self-glorification and independence, therefore the negation of divine love. Now, we are going back to Venus. What is Venus? as one of the shiniest and most visible objects in the sky. Venus has been known since prehistory. Venus, daughter of Zeus, is both phosphorus or Eosphorus as the morning star or dawn bringer. It is also Hesperus or Hesperos, the dusk bringer, the evening dusk star. So Venus has both aspects. Its fascinating dance around the sun, known now by the general public thanks to technology, sends a message. Venus returns to the same position in the sky every 8 years, about. During this 8-year cycle, and from the Earth's perspective, that is geocentrically, the positions of Earth, Sun, and Venus alignments along the constellations form a pentagram or five-petaled flower or star. The pentagon, in which the 5-pointed star is inscribed, being the most magical and crucial in sacred geometry, was the Pythagorean emblem. Why? Because it is connected to the golden ratio and by extension to the Fibonacci sequence, therefore to the model found in the building of form of the material world. This is what I have called Code 5. In other words, while moving around the sun, Venus spends time in the underworld where the goddess meets the darkness. Then Venus goes back towards the sun for a kiss. Kazemi. During the last thousands of years, the feminine frequency and the nurturing love of the mother have been associated with the underworld and with the darkness by necessity. Hence, the appearance or the existence of the Luciferian archetype. In the darkened world, in the absence of the solar god, and as dictated by life cycles, Venus has been allied with Lucifer and with the ancient archetype of Babylon. Now, where are we? With the help of Neptune, with the passage of Pluto in Aquarius, with the end of the mysteries, Venus is in the process of being freed from the obligation of serving the darkness. Venus and human beings are freeing themselves from the Luciferian frequency of rebellion and separation from the divine. You hear me? How do you stop the separation? How do you connect with the divine, with your creator? And how do you do it with actions? By the way, this statement doesn't imply judgment or condemnation of any being, of anyone, any consciousness, any experience of the past. However, humans must look towards the light or the origin, embodied in our universe by the Lyra constellation and the star Vega. The equinoxial cycle of about 26,000 years that we are experiencing started with Vega as the north, the pole star. Vega as the origin and the compass. All people who have served Lucifer must integrate the lessons of the past or multidimensional lessons and then move on. This is the spiritual meaning of Mars rambling in Cancer next to the star system Sirius, with which the maximum darkness was experienced. Mars means realigning actions, realigning your axis, personal and planetary. I'm going to repeat this sentence. It's absolutely essential. Humankind must look towards the light, the origin, embodied in our universe by the Lyra constellation and the star Vega. By the way, this is the house of the Archangel Michael. Vega. Read my book, Create a God, or listen to the tapes. The equinoxial cycle of about 26,000 years that we are in now started with Vega as the pole star, the origin, and the compass. All people and groups who and that have served Lucifer must integrate the lessons of the past, what we call past life, multidimensions, and then move on. This is the spiritual meaning of Mars rambling in Cancer, the house of the mother, next to the star system Sirius, which was the leader to the meeting of the maximum darkness. On this is finished. Mars means realigning your access, your actions, your life, and eventually planetary alignment. Earth and humankind are being upgraded to follow the evolution of the Milky Way. This is something that my readers know, but I have to mention it on this presentation for YouTube. In 2011, the consciousness that you are a part of, the consciousness using the Milky Way as its body of incarnation, has moved to a higher state of manifestation, integration, and balance of polarities. Consequently, the path of Venus, pinned down with the presence of the Luciferian frequency, became obsolete. Until 2011, form and life, life on Earth were based on the energy of the first three chakras, cosmic and human chakras, which are purely physical material. This energy was I called it Code 5. Human beings are moving towards Code 6 and 7, depending on their personal path and progress. In astrology, what is showing now, Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. At the end of January, that was a critical time. Venus and Neptune got closer and closer, up to a conjunction early February. Venus and Neptune will meet several times. Neptune will also conjunct the North Node, now in Pisces. Integrated Pisces frequency must bring and will bring a more spiritual context, more mysticism, the capacity to see and participate in other planes of existence. Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, we are looking at the ending of something. Obviously, we all know that something is going on. In the meantime, we are prepared, based in the frequencies of Jupiter, the old ruler of Neptune, the old ruler of Pisces, and Neptune, the new ruler of Pisces. Now, I have to mention that. I cannot not do it. Smiling. Curiously and humorously, the most notorious archetype attached to the Pisces is, of course, the character known as Jesus. My readers know that I do not believe that the Son of God, that Jesus, whoever was there, the story on which the Christian churches were founded. I do not believe that the Son of God could land on planet Earth at the onset of the Pisces. It's a question of timing. There is a technical question of cycles. Could not happen. So we have ingested that and created religions that have continued for almost 20 centuries. Well, we started in 3rd century. Okay. Well, in the past, and you can find this on my website, I have spoken about the mistakes of the Pisces era. The story of Jesus being the biggest. We will have to deal with this archetype. And I hope this will happen soon. How? How can we stop the immense mistake made by mankind? How are we going to stop the power of the Vatican? Are you still going to church? Are you still supporting the church? While allowing ourselves to delve into higher realms, create at a more spiritual level, we will need to surrender to cosmic flow, to the Plutonian energies recreating the world under the gaze of Uranus, ruler of Aquarius. All this is pointing at Venus again, our capacity to love, and move from emotional love to divine love. Humans are invited by the planets or forced into focusing on spiritual matters. Additionally, weeks of transits of Mars, Pluto, and Saturn have imposed on all humans the necessity to surrender. The Earth and our corner of the universe are moving ahead, and there is nothing we can do to alter its course. Now, let's rephrase a little bit our vocabulary. What is spirit? What does astral mean? But the word spiritual is not very, not accepted. Now we prefer to speak about other realms, and we have to realize that a lot of it is just ET populations. So when I speak about spirit, we are mentioning everything that most people do not see through human eyes. Human senses do not exist, things that do not exist if your senses have not evolved. everything that is at a different frequency. Now, of course, in the present culture, and this is a great change, the gods are known as being ETs, the ETs who participated, extraterrestrial beings, just other civilizations, more evolved, who participated in the creation and the manifestation of our universe. As the creators and guardians of the earth and of humankind, some ETs are in charge. So, as a conclusion to all that, yes, we cannot adopt all the interpretations, everything about ETs that we read in the internet, about being coming from Venus. That's kind of funny. The beings that we relate with from Venus and we see as beautiful, blonde, loving, are they associated with Lucifer? Are they tricksters? Loving tricksters? Okay. So, just remember, open your brain, rethink, rewire, surrender to the universe, serve your creator, and practice love.